Man, okay. This is what we're going to talk about today is a little bit is the word hyperbolic, like my title may be a bit hyperbolic, and people aren't going to like the comparison, and they're going to think that I am just doing this for the sake of saying something controversial that will get a few clicks in people arguing in the comment section, and that may be true. But I also think that this brings up a bigger point. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about a watch that was just released, and it's essentially a new iteration on a watch that came out around, I think, 2022. And then we're going to talk about how I answered a question, I think, last night from one of you guys, and it kind of opened a huge can of worms in my mind. So let's go ahead and tell the time. It is 7:08 a.m. Hope everyone had an amazing weekend. So let's go ahead and take a look at this watch. So right here, we see MB&F. Now, for those of you who don't know, MB&F is an haute horlogerie. They are a very high-end watchmaker, and they're very well known for these sort of floating offset time displays. So, like right here, they're known for these offset mini displays of time, and they're not so, like, I want to say like orbular. They're not so huge and like bulbous like a Jacob and Co. But they definitely do appreciate this hyper domed crystal because their designs, it's kind of like exploded designs, right, for a watch. Now, this is the LM Sequential Evo, this one. And it's a chronograph on top of a chronograph. Like, it gets much more complicated than that, by the way. So, it's not just a flyback chronograph. It's also not just it's what's the word? Rattrapante flyback chronograph. That would be way oversimplifying it. It's literally two chronographs within this movement, and essentially each pusher, when you hit it, it can alternate when one of them starts and one of them stops, so you can like swap. It's very weird. They call it. They have a word called a twinverter. That's what MB&F calls it. Very, very interesting presentation, a whole lot going on. And when you look at the comment section in the Hodinkee articles about this, people are saying like I'd never wear it. There's way too much going on. I don't understand like anything about this watch. So let's go ahead and look at this new one. So this is the Evo, and you can see the strap kind of goes into the lugs, and it's very sleek. And this is the Sequential LM right here on the right, which has a more traditional lug and case shape. I actually prefer the Evo with kind of more of like a flowy lug design into the case. But this is the one that we're talking about. Look at that movement. Absolutely gorgeous, by the way. Sam Ray's here. Happy Veterans Day to all who have served. Thank you for your service. And actually, one of the watches that we're going to be talking about today is very popular in the veteran community. Not this MB&F, though. But this is the one that we're going to be talking about. This is the, I believe, the newest iteration of the LM Sequential. So, dual independent chronographs features two separate chronograph mechanisms, each with its own seconds, minutes, subdials, allowing for independent simultaneous timing. Flyback functionality introduces flyback feature, enabling chronograph hands to reset and restart instantly with a single press, enhancing its versatility. Calling this a flyback, though, is a supreme understatement. Twinverter mechanism. This is where it gets weird and different. Equipped with a unique twinverter pusher, I believe it is here at the 9 o'clock, that inverts the start-stop status of both chronographs simultaneously, facilitating complex timing modes such as split-second and lap timing. This has a 44mm platinum case, manual wind, so it's powered by a 619 component movement. I'm going to say that again. 619 component movement. 72-hour power reserve, excuse me. This is limited to 33, so this is hyper limited in the watch world. That's not a lot of units, and each priced at 218,000. This, I might be a little bit jaded at this point, but I feel like this could go for more money. I feel like this could be more than that. But 33 units at 218 a pop. Kevin Hawthorne from Lakeland, Florida here in the chat. Tanner Smith, what is going on? Tanner Smith says, it's cool, but it reminds him of the Jacob & Co. 5 time zone. I kind of see what you mean because of the pushers kind of exploding out of the case. This is a much better presentation than the Jacob & Co., in my opinion. But what they're freaking out about in the watch world is that this has a more traditional case shape over the Evo. I don't necessarily think this is an upgrade over that very, very sleek Evo. But this is what I want to talk about today, okay? I'm going to make my screen a little bigger so that you can see me as well. You see this watch on my wrist? This is a W800 Casio, all right? I unboxed this very recently on the live stream. And I got a question from a viewer who wanted to remain anonymous. He said, "Hey, you loser, why are you so ugly? Shave your beard." And I was like, you know what? Let's be civil. And then he was like, how can you talk about these, Casios that are well under $100 and then also show appreciation for these hyper limited watches? And he didn't actually call me ugly. I'm joking. The dude was very cool. But he brought up a good question. Like, are you allowed to like these hyper limited, hyper expensive watches that many of us will never see in person, let alone own? Are you allowed to like them if you kind of just mess around in the more affordable watch category? And the truth is, I am very far away from like any type of collection featuring these crazy watches like MB&Fs. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have, a few Rolexes. I have one here in the office today, if my camera wants to focus. But even this, I think the valuation on Explorer 2s is like around 10 grand. We're still not even making a dent in this MB&F, right? And then when you look at this, Casio W800, this one specifically was, I think, $21.92. We're very, very, very far away from MB&F money. But I'm going to make a pretty strong statement here. This Casio W800 and that MB&F are actually more similar than you may think. And I'm going to tell you why. They're both innovative, okay? This very simple Casio module was actually very, very, very innovative at the time. This clearly this MB&F is 619 component movement. You cannot argue that that's insane innovation, especially with the twin inverter system, right? These are both chronographs, so that's another similarity. And then they're both appreciated specifically for their price tag. What do I mean by that? Well, this MB&F is $218,000. People that look at this will appreciate it because it's so expensive and there's so much going on, not only in the presentation, but when it came to the manufacturing. This is like, we're going to round up and say $22, the watch on my wrist. People specifically appreciate it for how affordable it is. And then the last thing that I want to bring up is they both have cult followings. Casio has an insane cult following. All right. People know Casio, God tier Casio, blah, blah, blah. I'm one of those people. But MB&F and similar watchmakers that are kind of more on the independent fringe, but doing like very high-end haute horlogerie watchmaking, they have cult followings as well. MB&F is not super mainstream, by the way. And so am I saying that if you put two of these watches together, that people would look at them the same way? No, I don't think that's the case. However, the argument I'm making is you can appreciate all watches under the sun because they run the gamut of prices, and this is the last thing. Price really doesn't necessarily have to matter at all. Okay, so although the MB&F is appreciated for how much they've put into that watch and just how impressive it is, and the price tag that goes along with it makes it larger than life, right? And although this Casio, people appreciate it because of how much it does, how functional it is, how reliable it is, and just how cheap it is, if we took away the price tags, we could still appreciate both. And we could still enjoy both. And you're allowed to appreciate things that you don't own and may not attain. That's perfectly fine. One of my favorite car of all time is a Ferrari F40. That was like the cool car when I was a little boy. And so like Ferrari F40, dream car, right? I will probably never own one. It's like, to get one in decent condition, it's over $1 million. So like, but I'm fine appreciating it from afar. And if I do ever get the chance to get up close to one, which I have, I've seen them and taken pictures of them. And whenever I do get the chance to go see one, I appreciate it, and it feels cool and it feels good. Same goes for these watches. You go to some watch shows, you go to some boutiques, and you see some crazy pieces. Just because you'll never own one, or you think you'll never own one, doesn't mean you can't appreciate it. And just because you wear a cheap little Casio doesn't mean you're any less of a watch collector than someone that owns one of these. And guess what? On the flip side, just because you own one of these hoity-toity, really ultra expensive watches doesn't mean you're more of a watch collector or enthusiast than someone who is wearing a Casio. But then, and this is like another facet of the same thing, just because you own like really hoity-toity expensive watches doesn't necessarily mean you're a snob. Because I guarantee you, dudes that like MB&F also probably think Casios are pretty cool, because I'm one of them. I'm someone that thinks MB&F is really cool, and I also think Casio is really cool. So chat, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think about this conundrum? Do you think it's mutually exclusive? The the hot horology, crazy high-end upper echelon, and then the, god tier Casios. Do you think it's mutually exclusive? You can't cross over into different sectors of the collecting world? Or do you kind of fit in my camp where you think these two things can be more similar than you may initially imagine? Linky is here. Shout out to Link on a Monday saying, "What up, y'all?" Big Zebra says, so this is a double chronograph? Yeah, but saying that it's a flyback is an understatement. This is literally 2 chronographs and 618 components. Big Zebra says, hit the thumbs up button now, because you may forget to do that on your way out. That'd be dope. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to come on here and say that don't count yourself out just because you're not, in the quote, big leagues of watch collecting. The question that I received, again, I think it was last night, kind of got me thinking. If he's one guy that thinks you may not be allowed to like the hoity-toity watches because you're not in the correct tax bracket, other people may have that same, question or concern. And I just want to kind of just nip it in the bud here. You can like whatever you like, guys. Big Zebra says, I think you're right, time teller. I'm sure high-end watch owners own a few beauties that don't cost much. Watch Mike says, I have a Fossil and Moser in my collection. Enthusiast loves them all. Amen. Freaking men. Amen. I don't think that that price necessarily dictates enjoyability. However, what I will say is I'd be lying to you if I didn't appreciate just how cheap these little W800s are and how cool they are for the price. And then also, like these MB&Fs, I'd lie to you if I didn't think, man, that's crazy. $218,000, like you're a baller if you own one of those. So I think you can appreciate it regardless. There are some watches that I would be proud indeed to wear around my organ of generation. For me, if I had $218,000, it wouldn't be an MB&F though. For me, it would be a datograph. I would get the white gold salmon dial datograph. I would, if I had big bucks to spend on a watch, I'd find one of those and yeah, I think it's a thick boy. It's a bigger watch, but awesome watch. Anyway, guys, just wanted to hop on here. If you're watching this past, present, or future, make sure to interact with the chat. Again, just because you're not commenting live, the comments still matter. People still join in. One of our last streams just got over 10,000 views, so thousands of people do show up and interact throughout the day. And we do daily streams here. So if you didn't catch me today, don't worry. I will see you tomorrow. And yeah, have an amazing week. Enjoy yourselves. And I'm going to be jumping over on the other channel. And if you want to go there, then you can go to any of my descriptions, I believe, and there's a link to my podcast, but I do daily streams over on my podcast as well. So I will see you there. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. And always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it. And I just want to say, regardless of how much money you spend in the hobby, you're still a watch collector, and you can like whatever you like. All right, guys. Love ya. I will see you on the other channel or tomorrow.